In the quiet woods where no one hears your screams, 5 nights can last forever. John was a simple man. He lived in a small town near a big forest. The forest was old and full of trees. People said it was dangerous, but John did not believe them. He liked to camp. One day, he decided to camp in the forest for 5 nights. He wanted to see if the stories were true. The stories were about strange things. People said there were shadows that moved on their own. They said you could hear whispers at night, but John thought it was just wind and animals. He packed his tent, some food, water, and a flashlight. He drove his car to the edge of the forest and walked and died. It was afternoon when he found a spot. The spot was flat with grass. Trees were all around. They were tall and green. Leaves were on the ground. John set up his tent. It was blue and small. He made a fire with sticks. The fire was warm. He ate a sandwich. It was ham and cheese. As the sun went down, the forest got dark. John sat by the fire. He looked at the trees. They looked normal. Birds were singing, but then they stopped. It got quiet. John felt a little cold, but it was just the night air. He went into his tent. He lay down on his sleeping bag. It was soft. He closed his eyes, but then he heard a sound. It was like a branch breaking. John opened his eyes. He listened. Nothing. Maybe an animal, he thought. He tried to sleep again, but there was another sound. This time, it was like footsteps, slow footsteps on leaves. John sat up. He grabbed his flashlight. He turned it on and looked out the tent flap. The light showed trees and ground. Nothing there. John lay back down. His heart was beating a bit fast, but he told himself it was nothing. The forest is full of deer and rabbits. They make noise. He closed his eyes. Hours passed. It was midnight. John woke up. He heard whispering. It was soft, like wind, but there was no wind. The tent was still. The whispers were outside. They sounded like words, but he could not understand them. John felt scared now. He stayed in the tent. He did not move. The whispers went on for a long time. Then they stopped. John waited. Nothing more happened. He fell asleep at last. In the morning, the sun came up. John got out of the tent. Everything looked normal. The fire was out. He ate breakfast. It was cereal. He thought about the night. Maybe he dreamed the whispers, but deep down, he knew it was real. He decided to stay. It was only one night. For more to go. John woke up on the second day. The forest was quiet. The sun was shining through the trees. He ate breakfast. Just cereal again. It was crunchy. He drank some water from his bottle. The water was cold. He looked around his camp. Everything was the same as yesterday. The tent was fine. The fire pit had ashes. He decided to walk around. The forest was big. Trees were tall and dark green. The ground was covered in leaves and sticks. John walked for an hour. He saw birds and squirrels. They moved fast. He found a small stream. The water was clear. He filled his bottle. Back at camp, he made a new fire. It took time to light. The wood was a little wet. He ate lunch, another sandwich, ham and cheese again. The day was warm. He sat by the fire and read a book. It was about fishing. John liked fishing, but there was no lake nearby. As the sun went down, the forest got dark again. John felt okay, but he remembered the whispers from last night. He told himself it was nothing, just his mind playing tricks. He put more wood on the fire. The flames were orange and warm. He went into his tent early. He wanted to sleep before it got to dark. He laid down and closed his eyes. The forest was quiet at first. Then he heard it again. Footsteps, slow and heavy. They were closer than last night. John opened his eyes. He grabbed his flashlight. He looked out the tent flap. The fire was still burning. The light showed trees and shadows. But one shadow was strange. It was tall and thin. It stood between the trees. It did not move. John's heart beat fast. He kept the flashlight on it. The shadow stayed still. He blinked, and the shadow was gone. He looked around. Nothing. Just trees and the fire. He told himself it was a trick of the light. Shadows move when the fire flickers. He closed the tent flap and lay down. His hands were shaking a little. Then the whisper started again. They were soft, like last night. But this time, they sounded closer. John could almost hear words. Stay here. They seemed to say. He pulled his sleeping bag over his head. He stayed still. The whispers went on for hours. Finally, they stopped. John did not sleep much. He waited for morning. When the sun came up, he got out of the tent. The forest looked normal again. He ate cereal. He felt tired. He thought about leaving. But he had 3 more nights. He wanted to prove the stories were not real. John woke up to another quiet morning. The forest was calm. Sunlight came through the trees, making spots on the ground. He felt tired from not sleeping well. He ate his usual cereal for breakfast. The milk was starting to taste a little sour. He drank water from his bottle. It was still cold from the stream. He decided to explore again. He walked in a different direction this time. The trees were thicker here. The air felt heavy. He saw more birds, but they were quiet. No singing today. He found a big tree with rough bark. Something caught his eye. There were scratches on the trunk. They were deep, like claw marks. They were to hide for a bear. John touched them. The wood felt cold. He told himself it was an animal, maybe a deer rubbing its antlers. But his stomach felt uneasy. He walked back to camp. The forest seemed darker, even with the sun up. He kept looking behind him. Nothing was there. Back at camp, he made a fire. It was harder today. The wood was damp from morning dew. He ate another sandwich for lunch, ham and cheese. As always, he sat by the fire and tried to read his book, but he kept thinking about the scratches. The sun went down. The forest got dark fast. John stayed close to the fire. The flames were small tonight. He added more wood, but it burned slowly. He felt cold, even near the fire. He went into his tent early again. He zipped the flap tight. Inside, he lay on his sleeping bag. He kept his flashlight close. The forest was silent, no birds, no wind. Then he heard the footsteps again. They were slow, like before, but they stopped near the tent. John held his breath. He turned on the flashlight, but kept it pointed down. The whispers came next. They were louder tonight. You'd stay, they said. The words were clearer. John's heart pounded. He wanted to look outside, but was too scared. He stayed still, gripping the flashlight dot. Then there was a new sound, a scraping noise, like something sharp on the tent. It was slow and deliberate. John's hands shook. He pointed the flashlight at the tent wall. The light showed nothing outside. The scraping stopped. Silence again. He didn't sleep much. The whispers came and went all night. When morning came, John checked the tent. There were no marks. He ate cereal and drank water. He felt more tired. The forest looked the same, but it felt wrong. He thought about leaving. Tonight's left. He wanted to finish what he started. John woke up feeling heavy. The forest was quiet, as always. The sun was up, but the light seemed dim. The trees cast long shadows. He ate his cereal. The milk was sour now, so he ate it dry. It tasted stale. He drank water from his bottle. It was warm and had a faint metallic taste. He didn't want to walk far today. His legs felt tired. He stayed near the camp. He checked the fire pit. The ashes were gray and cold. He gathered more wood, but it was hard to find dry sticks. The air felt damp. He smelled something odd, like wet leaves mixed with something sour. It was faint, but it made his nose wrinkle. John sat by the fire pit. He tried to light it, but the wood smoked more than it burned. He ate a sandwich for lunch. Ham and cheese, same as always. The bread was getting hard. He read his book, but the words blurred together. His mind kept going back to the scratches on the tree and the scraping sound from last night. The sun went down slowly. The forest turned dark. The air got cold. John stayed close to the small fire. It flickered weakly. He kept looking at the trees. They seemed closer than before, like they were leaning in. He shook his head. Just his imagination. He went into his tent. He zipped the flap and lay down. His sleeping bag felt damp. He held his flashlight tightly. The forest was silent at first. Then the footsteps came again. They were heavy, like boots, on leaves. They circled the tent, slow and steady. John's heart raced. He didn't move. The whispers started. Stay forever, they said. The words were sharp and clear. John's skin felt cold. He wanted to run, but his body wouldn't move. Then he saw something. A shadow passed outside the tent. It was tall and thin, like the one from the second night. It moved slowly, then stopped. John pointed his flashlight at the tent wall. The light showed nothing outside, but the shadow stayed in his mind. The sour smell was stronger now, coming from outside. It made his stomach turn. He pulled the sleeping bag over his head. The footsteps stopped, the whispers faded. He barely slept. Morning came, slow and gray. John checked the tent. No marks, no signs. He ate dry cereal and drank the last of his water. He felt weak. The forest looked the same, but the air felt heavy. One night left. He didn't want to stay, but he felt like he had to. John woke up on the final morning. The forest was silent, like always. The sky was gray, and the trees looked dark. He felt exhausted. His eyes were heavy. He had no more water. The cereal was gone. He ate the last sandwich. The bread was hard, and the ham tasted bad. He forced it down. He sat by the fire pit. No fire today. He didn't have the energy to gather wood. The air was thick and cold. The sour smell from yesterday was still there, stronger now. It made his head hurt. He looked at his tent. It was sagging, like it was tired to die. John thought about leaving. His car was a long walk away, but something felt wrong. The forest seemed to watch him. The trees were too close. He couldn't explain it. He decided to stay for the last night. He wanted to finish what he started. He walked a little, just to clear his mind. The ground was soft with leaves. He found a clearing. In the middle was a pile of rocks. They were stacked neatly, like someone placed them there. John stared. The rocks were strange. They were smooth and black, not like the others in the forest. He touched one. It was cold, like ice. He went back to camp. The day dragged on. He sat and waited. The sun went down. The forest turned black. No stars tonight. No moon. John sat outside the tent. He didn't light a fire. He held his flashlight, but the batteries were weak. The light was dim. The footsteps came early. They were loud, closer than ever. They didn't circle this time. They stopped right outside the tent. John froze. His breath was shallow. The whispers started. You belong, they said. The words were slow and heavy, like stones dropping. Then he saw it, a figure in the dark. It was tall, thin, and blurry. It stood just beyond the tent. The flashlight barely showed it. Its edges seemed to fade into the shadows. John's hands shook. He wanted to scream, but his voice was gone. The figure moved closer. The sour smell was choking now. John crawled into the tent. He zipped the flap, but it felt useless. The whispers grew louder. Stay forever, they said. The tent shook, like something brushed against it, then silence. John stayed awake all night. The figure didn't come back. The whispers stopped. When morning came, he packed his tent. He walked to his car. The forest was quiet. He didn't look back. He drove home. The forest was behind him, but he still felt cold.